How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. So let's talk a little bit about, Jamar Chase. We've seen him start training camps. He's been showing up, just not participating. He wants that new deal. And at the time, it's like, hey, love it. I understand you want to get the money, you want to get paid, you want to work on a contract, whatever. But you're still showing up for your team. And for that reason, I did respect it. Of course, 2 years left on a deal, kind of a little much. But now we're seeing today Jamar Chase not at practice, and no comment further than that out of Zach Taylor. And one would think, well, if it's a personal issue, probably something that gets brought up because, we talked about BJ Hill, reason he's missing a personal issue. Which leads you to believe is Jamar Chase kind of pushing down the pedal here. Is he playing games, more or less, and saying, all right, well, I'm done showing up to practice, give me the contract. I'm done doing that. And to me, that's obviously, that's an early onset red flag that, you may have a player that's a little bit too much about themselves because he is young. You can always look past that, down the road and say, well, he is young still. Maybe we'll learn from it. You can also look and say, hey, red flags do amass themselves amongst wide receivers early in their careers. Like, how quickly could the downfall be? How good is he going to be? Are we going to start to see times where he just doesn't get every single bubble screen or screen pass? Is he going to start complaining and have throwing fits on the sideline? You do wonder that. That is definitely a concern. More importantly, though, you're trying to build a team for the future of, again, good culture, but of a Super Bowl contender. And you have to wonder if Jamar Chase's actions are potentially opening the door, in the front office here and saying, hey, is T. Higgins the option? We got T. Higgins for one more year. Is he the guy we potentially keep on this team? Let's start with this. I want Jamar Chase. Of the two, I want Jamar Chase. No questions about it. That all being said, I'm just saying, are we opening the window here of opportunity? Because let's say this season, Jermaine Burton comes in, tears the top off of defenses. We know the big thing, you have to have a guy that can take the top off of defense. That is so important. You can't negotiate that. That's why you got to have Jamar Chase. But if Jermaine comes in here, fills that void, all right. T. Higgins is still the bigger bodied guy, the better guy the better guy in the red zone threat. And if Jermaine's your take the top off of defenses guy, we can find a guy to catch screen passes. More importantly with Jamar Chase, let's talk about his last 2 years. We talk about this guy being a deep threat. And he was, first year in the NFL, took the tops off of defenses. 18 yards of reception. But these last 2 seasons, last season, first of all, half the season, 8 games, where Jamar Chase's longest catch did not amass more than 20 yards. Half the season. That was spread out throughout the season. That wasn't just the Jake Browning era. That wasn't just the early Joe Burrow injury era. And the reason we bring that up is because in 2022, Jamar Chase had one catch over 40 yards. One catch. Excuse me, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Microphone. One catch. This is supposed to be your deep threat to scare the socks off opposing teams' wide receiver. And, of course, we can say, well, teams are bracketing, teams are doing this, teams are doing that. What happens with Brian Callahan out the door? Do we find a way to get him open? Because at the end of the day, hey, Jamar Chase ain't the only threat in the league. Tyreek Hill's a prime example of a guy that was a premier only deep threat. Or remember Deshaun Jackson? Deshaun Jackson, that's all he was. He was a 2 for 76 guy for a long time. So you wonder what could potentially be happening there. You do. And because if you look at that and say, okay, well, Jermaine Burton comes in, Chase isn't the deep threat he once was. Maybe he still is solid, but if Jermaine Burton could come in and be that deep threat, he's much cheaper. Much cheaper. And now you have money to spend. Because at the end of the day, the last thing you want to do is handicap yourself in any way. If you can afford, look defensive interior, for example. The Bengals might see that get ran over this season. We'll see what happens. But that's a prime example. You got to spend your money somewhere. If you can put $30 million in that nose tackle position, or both your a couple of defensive lineman position compared to a wide receiver, hey, that's an option. Obviously, that's not going to happen because, like we said, we're going to sign one or the other. If T. Higgins wants over $30 million a year, I just throw the idea out the door. That's too much. If he wants 27, maybe, 26, maybe. But I'm just starting to wonder. Just completely throwing things at the wall here. Might not stick at all, but starting to wonder if you get halfway through this season and see that, hey, we can fill these voids. You obviously can't fill both of them. Again, unless Josivas comes in here and tears it up himself. But if you're a team, the hardest decision the Chiefs probably ever made was saying, hey, we got to let Tyreek Hill, we got to let him walk. Look what he's doing in Miami. You know what he's not doing in Miami? Winning Super Bowls. Arguably the best wide receiver in the league right now. Kansas City said, we'll let him walk. Not winning Super Bowl. Guess who is? Guess who is winning them Super Bowls? That is where the tough decisions have to be made about the future of your franchise. And this is a 6-year commitment to Jamar Chase. Minimum. Again, he's got 2 years left on the deal. You're going to sign him for 4 years. That's a long time to be committed to one player. And more importantly, again, my biggest concern with him is what's happening with the deep ball. Why hasn't it been there? Again, of course, Jake Browning, not the arm Joe Burrow has, but the year before, different story, and we've seen it again. What's happening there? Can a new offensive coordinator change things up for Jamar Chase? And I do worry about this. I'm 2 years out into a contract. I'm sitting out. Meanwhile, T. Higgins, literally do a contract. A lot of guys will sit out on not franchise tag until they get one, or they just won't play. Requested a trade. That just seems like something. I don't even know if it's the Bengals front office leaking that at this point, because it seems to happen with everybody on this team. If it's them trying to get some leverage on a player, it could be happening. That's the thing. We don't know what's happening in the Chase situation. We don't know what's happening inside the building. So a lot of it's speculation. We have to be careful there. But, you look at the way T. Higgins handled it. He was at the first game of preseason. At the end of the day, he's truly shown, I want my money, or I want to go somewhere that's going to pay me, but I'm still willing to put the team first. 2 years out. 2 years out concerns me a little bit to be playing games like this. Of course. You always look over that stuff when you say, hey, top five at your position, we might be able to make that work out. That's the thing with Chase. You just have to wonder, the longer this plays out, how the behavior is this season, if there's any opportunity that we see Higgins staying instead. And again, there's no question about it. Somebody said, hey, Higgins a top 20, Chase top 3. Chase ain't a top 3. I'm sorry. I'm a Bengals fan. I'm not biased, though. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson. Maybe Devontae Adams still with a good quarterback. But he ain't top 3. He ain't proven that in years. First year, sure, but since then, not top 3. But top 5, sure. Top 5, sure. But you have to, keep that in mind when you're working with a top 2 quarterback in the league. How much of, weaponry does he need? To top 20 and a top 30 might just be enough if they possess the proper skill sets. Of course, if you ain't got the deep threat, you have to make sure that's taken care of. No questions about it. The deep threat, the end zone threat, the red zone threat, the guy that can, the quick guy that can handle the ball in open space. You got to have that at whatever cost it is on an offense. We'll see what happens, though. Nonetheless, love y'all's thoughts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.